Is there a leadership crisis within the unions, or is the crisis coming from government itself? Well, we take you back to the first democratic elections in 1994, Workers' Day observed for the first time in our country. Not just a public holiday, but a day to remember the crucial role of unions and other labour organisations in the struggle against apartheid. But is it all been worth it? Is today the day we celebrate the fruits of those economic freedoms? I don't think so. Denosa Deputy General Secretary Khaya Sodidi joining us this morning. Khaya, hello to you. I want to start our conversation just by asking you the same question as all the other unions we spoke to this morning. Do you celebrate today at all?
Good morning, Gareth, and to the viewers. We do celebrate, Gareth. However, we've got many challenges which are growing up every day, the challenges of the workers. But we cannot ignore this day today. However, we need to look back and then ask ourselves what is going on, what has gone wrong, because it's not all well when you look at the well-being of the employees and also the working conditions of the employees. We feel that the employees are under siege by the employers. So yes, we celebrate. However, we want to make use of this day to make analysis and see what has gone wrong and how can we correct things moving forward.
Give me the one thing that stands out for you most, the one big issue that hasn't changed since May Day of last year, and who's supposed to deal with that for you?
There's one, but maybe two. The issue of the wages. The issue of the wages. The employees. I think you have said it in one of your clips that the inflation rate, the CPI, goes up every day. The petrol prices of food, everything goes up, but the salaries, they remain stagnated. The employers are not interested to keep up with the CPI. So that's the main thing since last year, May. That has not changed even an inch. So we are really grappling with the employees, which is that cannot keep up with the daily increasing prices for food, petrol. That also obviously affect the taxi fares and then bus fares going to work. So that has not changed. And the question is that who can do that for the employees? It's us, it's employees who can do that for themselves. But what also we see that the onslaught from the employers. If you remember, Gareth, recently, we just came out of the public sector strike, demanding for better wage, but the employer, the government, has given us what is called 7.5%. But if you have to dissect that, it's not really 7.5%; it's a 3.3%, and yet the inflation is sitting around about 6%. So the employees really they're getting a raw deal today. So that is very, very sad. We went public sector employees, they went on strike this year, but nothing much was achieved. So we feel that the employers they are just not taking employees seriously. Even if we take our last resort going on strike, we come back, the employer is still standing firm that they won't give employees anything further than what they have tabled.
And increases are one thing. The minimum wage is quite another issue. As Tumza and I were talking about before the break, we had that soundbite of the president, the ANC president from back in 2018. And I quote, "The current minimum wage is just a start." That was May of 2018. I go further to say it's a start to ensure that the conversation takes place. It will go up, but it's still under 5,000 rand. Many people saying this is still considered a poverty wage. It was bad back then. It's even worse now. People can't live on this wage.
Correct. One of the issues that are frustrating us is the lack of the implementation or non-implementation of some of the decisions, which is they sound good, but in terms of implementation, they don't happen. And they are correct that even now, even if the 5,000 can be they become a minimum wage, it still won't be enough. Because if you have to take into consideration the money the employees are using to go to work, because taxes are up, buses are up, and also the lunches. Because remember, the employees where they work, the employer doesn't offer lunch. They're expected to prepare their lunch and so on. So you find out the money, almost 2,000 to 2,500 actually, is going to taxi fare and also to some preparation for work, which is at the end of the day, really they don't get anything. And remember, it's not even 5,000 yet; it's still a 3.5. So you find that the employees are left with 1,000 or 1,500 at the end of the day, the money they can take home. And then if you look at some of the employees, they're really looking after other family members because of high unemployment rate in South Africa. You find one employee is actually looking after 6 or 7 family members. So you have to take that 1,000 home or 1,500 home and then look after everyone at home. So it's really a drop in the ocean. It's not enough. But what is frustrating is that even that one has been agreed on. Nothing is being implemented.
Yeah, it's almost a case of, even though it's a drop in the ocean, and I think many people would agree with you, the currents and the waves of the ocean of a minimum wage are now getting too high for most employees and most workers to deal with as well. Let me ask you this. Do you still believe the ANC is the right government to fight for workers' rights? I asked that off the back of the news that the SACP, the South African Communist Party, could break away from the tripartite alliance, go solo in next year's elections. Do you think that's a good thing? So do you think the ANC is the right party to still fight for workers' rights? Have they got your interest at heart? And do you think the SACP should break away? Would you support that as Denosa?
It's not a Denosa call, Gareth. Remember, this was tested in COSATU Congress. So it's no longer Denosa, it's a federation matter. Remember, COSATU is in the alliance. So we're just afraid of COSATU. So you have to wait for the time when the COSATU pronounces that, which will be part of that. If COSATU supports SACP to contest elections, of course, Denosa will be part of that. If COSATU says ANC is still the only organization of hope that can give employees what they're looking for, then you have to abide by that decision. But of course, the members, our members, they are frustrated about what's happening, and some they are really they look at the government of the day, not really interested on workers' issues. So but that call should be made by the federation, but also we can also confidently put it that the employees are really frustrated, or the members are really frustrated of what's happening. If I can just mention one thing quickly, Gareth. If I'm sure you know that SACAO, one of the COSATU's federations at Macro, they've been on strike now, I think almost 6 months now. And then the employer has been very, very arrogant and not showing any interest. In fact, I think about 600 of Macro employees have been since dismissed since the beginning of the strike. So that is the hostility we're talking about that the employees are faced with, and where we wish that even the ANC government, who is part of the alliance, can intervene in that situation, that the employees are losing jobs. The employer is very arrogant. And that's why the ANC should show itself that really it cares about the employees. But for now, that has not. We are not convinced now that the ANC is really assisting. But yes, we remain in the alliance until such a call is made.
I want to ask you that. Just a last question to you before I say goodbye, Khaya, just very briefly as you can. We've spoken about government and the ANC-led government, their role within the unions, what fights they need to take going forward as well. I want you to touch on very quickly about what is happening with the private sector. Do you think the private sector, business, small business, medium business, large corporations take abuse, or rather they take advantage of the workers and give them the very bare minimum? Do you think they could be doing a lot more? What's your call to private business today?
Yes, we are convinced that the private sector they're in a position to do more because despite that the economic situation we are facing in the country, but we see reports every day that some private companies are doing well under the circumstances. So we believe that they should pass that to the employees, not following what the government is doing, because some of the private companies, they want to benchmark with government, which is, we think that is mischievous. For example, if I can just mention one thing, that when the government renegade from the public sector resolutions by not implementing the salary agreement, we have seen that some private sector employees have seen that as a good thing, that they can pull out from the agreement they have signed with the employees. So we think that the private sector should really do more in improving the condition of the employees. Also, create more jobs. Because what I've also have seen, Gareth, is that in particular in private sector, of course, even government is doing that, that you find that one employee, if some employees have resigned for whatever reason, you find that one employee will do the job of another employee. So that is common. And private sector, I think, is exploiting employees in that, including government for that matter, but they are not filling up the vacant posts. So we think that they can do more in terms of creating jobs, employing more people, improving the conditions of the employees.
Yeah, it's a two-pronged approach, isn't it? Not just what can government do, what can the ANC-led government do, what can unions do. Of course, there is the other side of this, the business side of this. And Denosa Deputy General Secretary Khaya Sodidi joining us this morning.